First up at 5, hundreds of people marching to the state capitol today demanding Governor Lamont do more to protect illegal immigrants in Connecticut. And thanks for joining us here at 5, everyone. I'm Stephanie Simone.
And good evening, I'm Erin Connolly. We have seen massive ICE operations since President Trump got in office, including one where 65 people were arrested, along with workplace raids.
And your reporter Dylan Fearon is live at the Capitol with more from the protesters. Dylan.
Well, Stephanie, Erin, it's very interesting because just in the last couple of weeks, we've seen Connecticut add new protections for undocumented immigrants, specifically in courthouses around Connecticut. But these protesters want more.
No fear! Immigrants are welcome here.
These protesters are marching from the federal building to the Capitol, stopping on the north side, rallying, demanding Governor Lamont call a special session to protect immigrants from what they're calling ICE's harsh measures. Corey Mackey helped organize the march today.
We started the federal building because we think what ICE is doing is atrocious and inhumane, and we wanted to make that point and honor those who have been disappeared.
There have been ICE raids around the state since President Trump was sworn into office, including at car washes in Newington and Southington, and a massive 4-day operation where ICE arrested 65 people in Connecticut, claiming it targeted gang members and transnational organized crime groups. A senior at Maloney High School in Meriden was taken into ICE custody along with his father during a scheduled immigration hearing in Hartford back in June. It sparked protests and raised concerns about ICE's measures, particularly in courthouses.
We have the ability here locally in Connecticut to actually make immigrants safer, and so we're tired of our governor putting that responsibility off and saying, well, it's the feds. No, there's stuff we can do right now.
Protections were put in last month, banning ICE arrests in courthouses without a warrant and banning any law enforcement officer from wearing a mask in a courthouse. These protesters are also demanding the state maintain Husky coverage for all, health insurance for people with low income.
Stronger laws to support people who are losing medical insurance, Medicaid and Medicare, because of cutbacks at the federal level. We have money in Connecticut. We can support those people.
Protecting immigrants is a matter of faith and justice, and we expect our governor to act this special session.
Now, we reached out to Governor Lamont's office today, Erin and Stephanie, to see if the governor had a comment on some of these demands and the rally today. We'll have his reaction coming up at 6 o'clock tonight. I'm your reporter live in Hartford tonight, Dylan Fearon, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.
We will see you then, Dylan.